All right, folks. Welcome. People First podcast. Here we are again. Jonathan Sinelli. Thank you for being here. Today's a tremendously special day, not only for the guests that we share space with, who we're going to pivot to in a moment. Today's a tremendously special day. It for two reasons. I'm going to talk about the actual date. Today is June 19th. And it happens to be my sister's birthday. She is in the East Coast of Canada. And man, maybe one day she'll be on the show because proud of her. It takes like courage and bravery to do some of the shit she does. And she when you talk about doing unorthodox stuff and flipping the script and going against the grain, Michelle does it. So happy birthday, Michelle. Sebastian, our little nephew, Sebastian, what a wonderful boy. I'm talking about him because we were talking about children before, and he comes to mind when I think about love and compassion. This human being, he's got this energy around him that it's almost like a glow where he's so compassionate and so loving that until you meet him, you don't really get that. So this was what's sort of buzzing around for me this morning, and I really wanted to acknowledge that. What's really more exciting is I'm not wearing a black shirt today, which is very unusual because black is my thing, and that's purposely designed that way. Much of many other things I do in life today is about the HDH shirt for so many reasons. First is Heavy Duty Homes, Phil Russo. I'm grateful to have connected with him, and if it wasn't for Phil, I wouldn't be here today. It was almost a year ago that I had the pleasure of meeting Manny. And the stuff that Manny, myself, Angelina, and everybody else in this orbit has created has been miraculous. And watch out, world, because there's some big shit happening. So that's the intention of the shirt. It's been almost a year to date since I first wore the shirt in the studio. And of course, that pivots to our guest for today, Venessa Russo, a rock star. Yes, Russo, Phil Russo, Alexander Russo, it's all in the family. There'll be a show one day where we'll all be here. Today, it's all about Venessa because she's the rock star in the background. She's the backbone that keeps everybody connected in so many different ways. So thank you, Venessa, for making the time to do this because putting you in the spotlight is something that I've been excited to do, and I know it has not necessarily been on the forefront for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm a behind the camera kind of gal. Yeah. I like to be hidden. Yeah,
we know that, and it's time to acknowledge you because lots of the stuff that happens in the world is as a result of you and the hard work and the commitment and dedication and the compassion you have for others. So thank you. Thank you. So I want to really pivot to you because we're talking about birthdays today, purposefully, right? My sister, Sebastian, and I want to come right to you because your birthday just passed. It was 2 days ago.
Yep, 27.
20. Well, tell us about that. Like for you, birthdays in folks' birthdays in Vanessa's world are miraculous, and I'm not going to even steal the energy. Vanessa, tell us about what birthdays are to you.
Birthdays are okay. So the way I like to explain it to people is this is the day that you were born. That day is special to me. So the way I like to put it, I guess in my family, my boyfriend's birthday, that is my favorite day of the year. Because if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be where I am.
Wow.
So I'm going to celebrate your birth because I'm excited about it. And I'm going to celebrate my birth because I'm excited about it too. So I love birthdays. They're the best. They are just they deserve to be celebrated.
They deserve to be celebrated. Yeah. And see, that's a different philosophy and ideology for me because for me, a birthday comes and goes. Right. And that's how I treat it. There's many folks out there who, don't necessarily understand that. And I don't know why I do it that way.
Yeah, it's just another year.
It's another year. Yeah. But tell me, when it comes to thinking about your birthday, is this something that's heavy duty planned? This goes on for a month, a week? What's your philosophy behind it?
It's definitely a birthday month. I probably will celebrate maybe 2 or 3 days of the month. My actual birthday on the day and then on the weekend. The celebrations start on the Friday and then it'll go to the following whenever I have my last party. And then that's it.
And has it always been this way for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I was living at home, I would start my birthday countdown January 1st.
Really?
Like January 1st, I'm coming downstairs. I'm like, there is X amount of days until my birthday. This is what I want. Let's start making my birthday list. And then day after my birthday, there's 190 days till Christmas. Let's start that countdown.
Okay, I'm pulling the handbrake. We're pumping the brakes here because I'm thinking, I come from a family of three, and I'm thinking if my sister went through all that, at some point in time, I'd just be looking at her like, can you shut up already?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That my family definitely was annoyed by it, but I'm sure now that I'm not home, they miss it. Like they definitely miss me coming downstairs. I'm like, okay, like my birthday's in 30 days. What does everyone have for me? What are we buying? Like, do you need any other ideas? But the best part is that my middle brother's birthday, Xander's birthday, is first. So my countdown goes even through his birthday.
So you even steal a spotlight from him?
Yes, I try. Yeah, wherever I can.
I love that. I mean, and thank you for sharing that enthusiasm because not everybody else out there has that. But I think what really resonated is the and the takeaway for me is the appreciation, right? The way you describe it, even for Greg, his birthday is his birthday, and if it wasn't for that,
I wouldn't have him.
You wouldn't have him.
I wouldn't have him. I wouldn't have the life that I have now if he was not born, and I'm so grateful for that. Not that he controlled it, but I am grateful. I'm going to celebrate it.
You're going to celebrate the day that he was born because the day that he's here, he's impacted the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
and my world, right?
And your world, right? And everybody else's world that haven't yet even been intersected. So this is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And I love this well because that exemplifies so much positivity. And the girl that I know you are today, one thing I can always count on you for is your energy, right? You have what seems to be an endless amount of energy, tremendous amount of positivity, and you're a pleasure to be around.
Thank you. I'm disgustingly positive. I've always been that way, though, to be fair. So I don't know like where it actually came from, because no one in my family, at least that I think, is like has high energy like I do, which is okay because it makes me special.
So, but unpack that. Like when you talk about what does positivity mean to you? Because positivity could be very different to different folks. So when you hear the word positivity, what does that actually mean?
So for me, that means like my outlook on things are just like I try to look at things differently. So like all this rain we're getting this week.
Sure.
Lots of rain. But I'm like, that is free water for my garden. I love that. I don't have to pay for that water. My garden's going to flourish. So like that's kind of the way I look at things positive. I'm going to take the negative and turn it into something good. Obviously it sucks that it's raining, but my garden's going to be going good.
Doesn't it get hard at times? Isn't there times where you're just like, shut the fuck up, I don't want to be positive in this situation?
Sometimes. And which it does happen, and it's okay when it does. But I think at the end of the day, like even if I do have the negative, energy towards something, I think at the end of the day, I always will look at it on the bright side. Like it's always a lesson to be learned, and it's always everything happens for a reason. So it's never going to be, why is this happening to me? Like why this? Why me? Like sob story. It's always going to be, okay, well, why is this happening to me? Like, what lesson can I take out of it? What can I do to avoid this happening next time? And what am I going to learn?
That occurs when? That occurs as a reflection moment? That occurs in the moment?
I would say, I don't know, a little bit of both. Probably like, for the most part, when something happens to me, I'm always like, okay, well, everything happens for a reason. And so what's the reason? Like, where is this path going to take me? So a lot of the times I like to take it to my last relationship. There was a lot of things in my past relationship that happened to me that I was like, sob story, why is this happening to me? Why am I not learning what I'm supposed to be learning? Because I kept putting myself in the same situation over and over again. And I never looked at stuff like, well, everything's happening for a reason until after.
Hang on. So is, your abundance of energy and the positivity sort of, does it evolve out of that life experience?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So it wasn't, Venessa Russo earlier version didn't always show up that way. No. You were sort of, and I'm going to say this purposely, you were sort of like sucked into the habitual routine mindset of of most folks out there where it's like, fuck, why?
Negativity. I think so. My energy levels have always been the same. My energy's always been 100. Like I was the annoying girl in the caf at 8 a.m. in the morning, like screaming at people walking through the door. I'm like annoying. But I think in high school I had less positivity because I didn't really know much. I never looked at things that were bad as a positive, like losing someone in my life, losing a friend, getting into a certain fight or whatever. So I think that learning that came with my life experience. And that's how I can look at things today and be like, okay, well, what am I learning? And, everything happens for a reason. But what's the reason?
So do you always go to that pragmatic solution, like your brain's trying to make meaning out of things?
Yes, always. That's like my immediate response. Like even I don't even have an example for it.
No, but
I
there's so many things buzzing around here, but our brains are meaning making machines. Mm-hmm. So we're looking to validate, verify, and associate meaning to it. But what if I said to you that it doesn't mean anything, that it doesn't mean anything?
I wouldn't believe you. But I think, because that's where I come from, is that everything does have a meaning.
Interesting.
Simple as like this morning, I dropped my coffee.
Sure.
Like that was that I call it, it's called the burnt toast theory.
Okay.
So like something so small as that can have a meaning. Like you dropped your coffee, that delayed you by 10 minutes and that helped you avoid something else. But that's why everything always happens for a reason.
See, this is the positivity I'm talking about, folks, right? You're and my brain's making this mean this, you're believing in a power greater than yourself on this earth to say that it was designed in that situation for that toast to be burnt, for me to be delayed by 35 seconds so that I didn't blow through the stop sign and something
else
occur.
Happened.
Right? Yeah. Interesting.
So that's how I just always looked at things.
So can we hang out in the positivity space for a moment in time? There's got to be times in life where people are just look at you and Vanessa, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear positivity.
Yes. Yeah. I unfortunately have become a role in everybody's lives where I am devil's advocate.
Okay.
You're going to talk to me about something that's going on and I'm going to be like, okay, well, like, let's look at it from this perspective, So, and that's when I've learned to ask people, because I know I'm disgustingly positive. So like I've learned to ask people like, do you want me to listen or do you want advice?
Beautiful.
Because I'm going to give you advice and you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but that's because I'm going to be like, maybe it's for the best. So if you want me to listen, I'll just listen and I'll let you talk and I'll hop on your bandwagon where everything is bad and everything's happening for you for why. But learning that has made me grow my own relationships and friendships and all that stuff too.
How so?
Well, because I become a better friend. I'm not constantly, it doesn't feel like I'm constantly shitting on them when they're asking me for advice or they're confiding in me, because I'm not just like, okay, well, it's better off this way and you might as well.
Because you specifically asked that question, like, do you want me to be a sounding board for you or you want me to give you advice or your version thereof, right?
Yeah. So that's helped me grow my relationships because they know that they can come to me for either or. And that's important for me in my life.
What happens, I want to flip the script, what happens when, you're in that sort of negative spiral, negative space? Because we all get there.
Yeah.
What happens then?
See, it doesn't happen often, which I'm very grateful for. But when it does, I know it's not healthy. It's not a healthy way of coping. It's not healthy mental health. But I basically just, like, my way of coping is doom scrolling on TikTok.
Okay.
And then I'll take a nap. And that's it. That's how I will, like, kind of get through it. I basically just shut down. Like, I don't really talk to anybody, like, other than, Greg. I won't really confide in anyone, even if I do. Like, it's not so extensive. And it's usually when I'm feeling okay. And, like, I know we've had that where I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't answer your call yesterday. Like, I wasn't in the right headspace. Mm-hmm. So you probably called me and I was laying on the couch doom scrolling, watching Harry Styles videos on repeat. And then I took a nap and then that's it. That's how I rest and recharge.
How do you process that grief? How do you go through that grieving process for you?
Probably music is probably my best way to get through that. Music and just like going through my own emotions, my own being in my own space with that as well. Like just kind of being solitude is how I.
So being alone.
Yeah.
Are you philosophizing? Are you thinking? Are you asking yourself questions? Or are you simply?
No, just like simply alone. Just like I try to shut my brain off and just like to be mindless, I think is how I would explain it.
Oh, I'm curious. Can I keep going with this? So, you mentioned Harry Styles, and I know that the role that he plays in your life. And there was a song you shared with me, and I watched the video, and I didn't understand it. It was about fruits or something that I was like, "What the fuck is this? What's the song called?"
Like watermelon sugar,
no, kiwi, right? Because it was we were talking about how kiwi. Your cat, what type of cat is it again?
Sphinx.
Sphinx cat, which is tremendously unique and really, really cool cat. For those who don't know about it, Sphinx cats. But we were talking one day, and I was sharing with our children about, couldn't remember the cat's names. It was like, it's a fruit of some sort. and it was Harry Styles related, and I mean kiwi because of the song Kiwi.
The song.
And you shared that with me, and it was on the darker side. Is that?
It's like the song is. It's more rock. It's like my pump up song is. Remember I said like when I'm getting amped or when I'm excited, like that's the song that I listen to get me hype.
Oh, I was mistaken. I thought that was the song you listen to when you're just you need to sort of go through that grieving process.
No, so the song that also by Harry Styles would be Fine Line.
Okay.
And it's like a 6-minute, I guess like piano kind of vibe, slow, very much so like. The main lyrics is like, we'll be all right. Like it's a fine line, we'll be all right.
And that's just a song you put on repeat.
Yeah. Like when I lost Bella, like Fine Line became my my outlet in a way, which has been, nice. I can't listen to the song without thinking about Bella now, which is okay. And I'm okay with that.
And context for the folks out there, Bella was a dog that has been a part of your life for
16 years.
16 years, right?
It's a long time.
And this she was a smaller dog, and a 16-year lifespan on a dog like that, to my knowledge, is quite extensive.
Yes.
Right.
Very.
So she and as a result, I mean, you've got some nice artwork on your body as a result to commemorate Bella. This is important. I think that this is some of the stuff that just doesn't get talked about enough. So thank you for sharing all this. Yeah, it's that grieving process that we all go through, and we all do it differently. And it's interesting, right? Because after the struggle is where the growth emerges, and the growth that emerges for you, the way that you show up to the rest of the world is with an exuberant amount of positivity.
Right.
And that doesn't come without the pitfalls, right? So it's not make-believe bullshit, inauthentic. It's real, right? And it comes with the extremes.
Yes, the very low lows.
The very low lows.
Yeah.
And how you deal with that is sometimes you're just processing it the way you're processing it.
And that's okay, because that's what works for me. And what works for me is not going to work for everybody else.
And it may not serve you well for the rest of your life. It serves you well for right now, this season in your life, right? And you found, an artist that you resonate with. And I mean, anybody who's connected to your life knows that, Harry Styles is
my life,
your life,
yeah.
Right? So it's just, I love the fact that you can associate the highs and the lows, and this one artist can connect all the dots.
All the way through. Yeah.
Right? But that's what sort of makes you holistically connected. So thank you for sharing all that. Yeah. Because I'm so curious on the other side of that, right? And we talk about the emotional peaks and valleys of like, I'm here, to down here, down here. On the upswing of that, I think what shows up for me, and I see this in you, so I become very curious now, is the creativity that gets illuminated as a result of that. You're a very creative
very
person.
Love it.
And even with creativity, some of the conversations you and I have had, working professionally together, it's been like, you keep notes of things, and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna like let that one sort of bubble for a bit. And I'm gonna come up with that, and you'll come up with like shit I don't know to all of a sudden this really creative stuff.
Yeah, which is cool. I love being the creative person I am, and it was hard to find something that I could do to allow me to be the creative person I am, which sucked. But it took me a while, but I'm here now, and everything happens for a reason.
So yeah, everything happens for a reason. But okay, well, there's a great segue. Like, I mean, I'm vividly clear with how you amplify me as a human being,
Right.
Personally, professionally. I truly value our friendship, and that hasn't come as a result of just sort of like showing up, and it's been deep and dynamic. We had
Absolutely.
some raw conversations, but for the rest of the world out there, who you are today, in the professional space you share, tell the world out there a little bit about that, because you're doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, social media is very fun. Like I said, it was really hard to figure out what I wanted to do to be able to use all of everything that goes on in my brain, because I have so many ideas, and I know that I want to do all these things, but I never knew how to do them. So I think like even at a young age, like I loved even just like playing Sims. I always talk about this story because this is how I got to where I am today.
Okay.
So playing Sims, I loved, I didn't actually play like the game. I would just build houses. I would like create mods and create my own furniture and like build just crazy cool houses and design. I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to go into like architectural technology. Because I was like, that's where people are able to be creative.
Right.
I can design whatever I want for my clients and blah, blah, blah. Mind you, didn't work out that well.
But didn't you go down that path where you were looking at, what was the program? It was...
like rendering, like 3D renderings.
You were doing 3D renderings for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking into it. Like I wanted to, that's why I got into architectural technology, because that's what I thought that was. It was a small part of it, but there was all like the other more complex
Sure.
sides of it, which there
Which did
always
support
is.
your creativity, totally.
Yeah. And then so while I was in school for that, COVID happened.
Okay.
And then everything was online, and I hated my life. I hated online schooling because I'm not an online school person. I can't look and like sit at a screen for, I don't know, like 6 hours a day and just learn. Like I'm not hearing anything. I'm just staring. And during COVID, it didn't really help because we were all at home. So after that, I dropped out. I was like, this is not for me.
Sure.
Then I went to go work with Phil at Heavy Duty. And from there, we kind of got into, HGH started moving and rolling. And I was like, okay, like Xander wanted to step back from doing socials because he was doing it up until then. And he wanted to start his own business. I was like, okay, let me take it over. Like I'll do admin and I'll do socials at the same time and see where that goes. Little do we know, I loved it. Especially because, at 20, I was 23 at the time. That's all I did. When I wasn't at work, I was on my phone. I was on TikTok, I was on Instagram, I was on Facebook. Like I knew.
So you were learning the stuff.
I knew everything.
Yeah.
I knew what was trending. I knew how to do it, what to say. So that was the best part of it. And then I took it over, and that was it. So now I work alongside both of my brothers, but Xander doing all the photography, and then I'll do my own stuff and post whatever I want, and that's how I got to.
But how does V Social exist today? How does this come into orbit?
So that's because I loved it so much. I loved being able to make my own content, I guess, about the houses, my own transition videos or just like befores and after videos, like that stuff like that had made me so like excited. And like when it's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like endorphins.
Yeah, sure.
When you see like all the likes and all like the views that it's getting, like it's so exciting. It sounds psychotic, but it's true.
No, well, I mean, your brain was getting the dopamine hit. You're like, I want more, I want more.
Basically. And I love that. So when I post things and they do well, like it gives me like an adrenaline rush at that point where I'm like, I want to do it again. Like, how do I do it again? What can I do it with next?
Okay, a couple of questions coming your way.
Yeah.
First of all, let's go back to creativity. So when do you have your most creative moments?
Oh, in the morning, for sure. I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person, but I think that my brain works at its like best in the morning as soon as I wake up, because I spend all night, like let's say after 5, sitting on the couch or doing whatever, and or I like to say I'm bubbling things. you know, you give me an idea. I'm like, okay, let me bubble it. I think about it through the night, and I'll think about it before I go to sleep, and I'll go to bed, and I'll wake up, and I'll have like clarity on like how to succeed.
Pump the brakes a bit. Do you have like dreams that you capture? Do you have
Not usually.
like so like creativity shows up in so many different ways. So for you, it shows up first thing in the morning. What do you do with it? You're like, okay, shit, there's a thought. You know, I'll say to little Cassandra, 8 years old, I'll say, Cassandra, grab that thought. So she literally grabs a thought. Sometimes she remembers, sometimes she doesn't. And it's like, so what do you do to make sure that that thought doesn't drift off?
Like put it in my notepad basically and write it down. And because if I'm not on my computer, because I have a notepad on my computer, but if I'm not there, I'll just like quickly write it down and come back to it later. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes I write it with like 3 words. And I'm like, I don't know, change something. And I'm like, what did I even mean?
It might not mean anything.
Yeah.
I got it.
Like, what did I mean by that? Then I'll remember. But if I can harness anything, like I'll write it down. But I'm just so much more creative. Like in the morning, if I'm looking at content, I'm like, okay, like what if we do this, this, and this? And then I'll put it all together and it works so well. But like last night I was doing like that, this and that. So it wasn't like, it was looking weird. It wasn't really flowing, but I couldn't see that other process of it.
So what do you do to foster your creativity? Like that isn't just, it's by design. So how do you do that? How do you foster it?
I think just like finding more ideas, like more creative elements to use. Because I always like to use new things and do new everything, right? So putting that all together.
May I go totally abstract for a second? Total random thought and no right or wrong answer. I'm just very curious on your philosophies, ideologies, and the way that, you know, you believe in things. What's your philosophy on creativity? Like, maybe I just I'll stop there.
I think either you have it or you don't. I think that everybody's creative in their own ways, and everyone has different levels of creativity. Like, but I also think that there's people that lack it, like no creative direction, that are just like straight numbers people, or they're straight whatever, electricians or whatever.
Sure.
So you have it or you don't. But I think that the people that do have it can keep growing it, which is really cool.
Interesting. So it's almost like one crazy, it's my saying, not my saying, but something I say all the time, is like one crazy, ridiculous idea will lead to another crazy, ridiculous idea. So it's almost like the more creativity you give away, the more creativity you get.
Yeah. And because it's so, like, I like to compare it to Xander, my middle brother, because we have 2 different levels of creativity. I think that his is very functional, and mine is a little bit more chaotic.
What do you mean?
Like if he was like a numbers guy of creativity, that's what he would be. Like very by the book creativity is how I like try to
structured creativity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm more like, let's throw all of these together and see what we can get. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, like it is what it is. But it always works because there's no structure to creativity, but he is very big on the structure and creativity, where everything needs to have a layout. But I think that's why there's 2 different, because I'm chaos. I'm chaos and creativity.
Well, I mean, look, this is Brendan, but I'm a subscriber to some of the Jordan Peterson stuff, and he's a great guy that I think of when he talks about chaos and order. Mm-hmm. It's not a chaos or order; it's a chaos and order. You need both.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Okay, so now I'm going to coin you as a chaotic, creative.
Basically.
What happens when you get stumped? What happens when you go, shit, I don't know what's next?
I usually turn to TikTok.
Okay.
I usually turn to TikTok because that's where a lot of creators are. And that's where I can find things that work for me to help me get through that. And be like, maybe I can try it like this person is doing it. See what that template looks like for me. Or if it works or if it doesn't work. Or even if I like doing it that way. But I'll never just like leave it. I'll try and figure it out and figure how to do it in a different way.
Is there a system you have, like you have to walk away and I don't know?
Not necessarily. So like if I don't know how to do something or I'm trying to figure it out, I'll bubble it, right? Which I'll like, you tell me about it, we talk in the morning. Tell me at 10 a.m. I'll get you an answer tomorrow at 10 a.m. But throughout that whole day, I'm like thinking about it. I'm searching about it, whatever it may be, different video ideas on it, how other creators have tackled whatever certain idea it is, stuff like that. So, but I never usually just leave it.
I love this. Right? 'Cause my brain is going to the chaos and structure again, and this is really tremendously supporting that. Where you're saying all this, and I'm attempting to process it all in my mind. I'm like, where's the fucking structure? And this goes back to what you're saying. No, there isn't.
There is.
You're pulling ideologies, philosophies from everywhere, right? And sort of consciously or subconsciously, something is going to form.
Yeah, yeah, basically, because that's how my brain works. Like it's not structure. There's never been structure, and you know, my mom is there to vouch on that because my room forever has been chaos. My life has always been chaos, but good chaos. So, you know, it shows in how I create my work, but at the same time, I'm constantly producing things that people love, which, you know, at the same point goes hand in hand. Like, yes, it's chaotic, but at the same time, you really love that video. So
yeah, I mean, I'm a subscriber to that. There's times where it's been like, you know, I can sit and go like, I don't necessarily understand. I mean, sometimes I don't even understand what you're doing or how you're doing it or why you're doing it or what it even means, except that I have blind faith and wholehearted trust, and trust is the currency there. So it's like, Vanessa's got my back, period. And
always,
you know, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. Right. And if again, a structured person, because my life is structure. If I force shit, you know what happens when I force shit?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work well. Yeah. Like, things will get done.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes I'll sit back and go, was it really worth it?
Yeah.
So hang on a second. I want to rewind this tape a little bit. So now you're going through all this, and we've talked extensively about your creativeness, and this is cool. And we talked about, you know, your schooling journey, and you ended up with HDH. Cool. It still takes a lot of balls and courage to say, I'm out. I want to start Social on my own, and I want to go down a different pathway. Unpack that. Yeah,
it's definitely scary. And I've never really been like a leap of faith kind of person.
Yeah.
Only because I always will like undersell myself, if that's the word I want to use.
Yeah.
And you know, Ash has always told me, like, don't undersell yourself. So I have her in the back of my head saying that, like, don't undersell yourself. Like, do exactly what you think you're worth. She's like, because you're not worth what you're selling yourself for. And I'm like, you're right. So I think that her telling me that was something that I really harnessed. And I was like, you know what? Someone's going to love me. Someone's going to love what I do. I'm going to find somebody that wants to take that leap. And that's it. Mind you, you know, leaving HDH was sad because I love working with my brothers. But at the same time, I think that this is how I'll be able to grow as a person. And I'm going into the world on my own, finally. And I think because I've grown up, you know, as the little sister, my life has always been helped.
Sure.
There's always been help. There's always been, you know, my parents or my brother or whoever. So going into VSocial by myself and starting my own business is all me, finally. And that feels so good. And which is why I'm so passionate about it. And I just love doing it. It's my favorite. Okay,
can I challenge you on this now?
Yeah.
Because this is what's really buzzing around, and I want the world to hear this one too. Because I lived through this too. You're fucking crazy and ridiculous because you choose construction. Okay?
Yes.
And I love construction. It's exactly what makes me who I am. And you're entering a space that's tangible widgets. Mm-hmm. And now you're turning and saying, you know, VSocial is here to truly help. Why do you choose construction specifically?
So the way I think about it is actually construction chose me.
Ooh.
Because I don't think that I have necessarily gone into social media and said, I want just this. I think that because there is so much creativity in construction, that's why it landed with me. Because it's always different houses, it's always different designs, it's always different work. And it allows me to do so much more with one set of content where like, you know, if it's, what can I compare it to? Installing cameras, I guess.
Okay.
One of my other client, who's my friend. But it's always just like a camera. It's always the same kind of camera. Different content, but the same camera. But where in like building houses and design and all that stuff, it's different everything. Colors, cuts, you know, you name it. Styles.
No, but this is interesting. I mean, and I fall into the script too, because listen, when I, you know, first met you and sort of as V Social was starting, I knew that someday we'd be in the same orbit. Mm-hmm. And once we started that, I still had a hard time grasping. I'm like, okay, because I still to this day, I'm not fluent with social media. That's why I outsource it, folks. That's why I'm sitting across the table from Venessa, because every time somebody asks me something, like, I have no fucking clue, mm-hmm. You know, and I know who to call, right? But I'm saying construction because often many conversations I have, it's like, Jonathan, how do you do this? What do you do? I'm like, I hire Venessa.
Yeah, I have no idea.
and it's not that you know, I'll have an idea. It's just I choose not to invest my time, energy, resources because I'm not passionate about it, and you are.
I love it.
So I lean into it, and I'm bringing this up, and I say why construction because I look at the philosophy where it's still a tough conversation to say, listen, folks. Never mind billboards and galas and advertising in magazines, and well, all that stuff might serve a purpose.
Yeah.
If your social media presence is zero,
you're not getting anything.
It doesn't serve well.
Yeah, absolutely. What I like to compare that to, because I agree with that, is I'm a big nail girl. I love getting my nails done, and I know I've said it before, but if the nail lady that I'm gonna go to doesn't have an Instagram, I'm not going. Like if I can't see your work, I'm not going. I'm not gonna trust you, and it's just plain and simple. Like it's just that.
Isn't it tough though when you come across, again, mostly male-dominated construction folks that are like, you're going to charge me, even if it's $1.
Yeah.
Most construction folks don't want to relinquish that $1.
Yeah, it is true.
Right? So how do you pivot through that?
You know, it's easier for me, I know it sounds terrible, but to talk to a guy about social media than to talk to a girl about social media.
Okay.
I think because men, especially in the construction field, are not on socials. And if they're on socials, it's a very different platform. And in construction, depending on the kind of construction, the person that you want to target is always going to be the female, because the female spend the money. Like the wives, the girlfriends, they're the ones that are like, okay, but maybe like we can spend an extra whatever and get this tile that I really, really love.
Right.
So that's why like talking to the males in construction about social media sometimes doesn't really get you anywhere, but once you're kind of like, okay, well, technically you're targeting me, and I know me, what I want, so let me help you target that same crowd. Because it's never the men that are spending money. Not to be rude, but it is. It's the truth.
You know, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we have this conversation. I have this conversation with Manny even all the time, right? I mean, again, thanks to our friendship and our partnerships, and it's, you know, why we're in the Construction Life studio. You know, it's a very different world right now, right?
Very.
You know, we talk about advertising and social media and stuff, and I mean, the digital world, the podcast, the people who, you know, have not yet chosen to advertise on podcasts, they don't know what they're missing because the reach is ridiculous. And then once you do one thing, it's like, this is where the social media comes in.
Yeah, and like seeing construction like Instagrams that are like not really pushing for the Instagram, that are just kind of doing like their own posts and whatever. That's cool. But it doesn't hurt to do the research. It doesn't hurt to, you know, take that extra second, even if you can't afford to hire someone for socials, take the extra second and make the content more enjoyable for the people who are going to be seeing it.
Sure.
Because that's who's spending the money.
Sure.
Regardless. So.
Thank you for unpacking sort of that. And I really want to come into something that's super important to me, and that is, again, it's much of who you are as a human being and also who you are professionally too, because it's sort of how our worlds intersect and how you ended up where you are today. And that is working in construction alongside your family.
Yes.
Which is no easy feat. Like, let's talk about some of the shit that doesn't ever get talked about.
Yeah.
What's it like? Like, you chose to work with your family. Tell us, as much details, little details you choose to, but like, what's that really like?
So my family, so we're 5, obviously, my parents, and then my 2 older brothers and me. We are, I think the best way to describe it is we're all different. We're all positive in different ways.
Okay.
Which it makes us able to support each other in different ways. You know, like my positivity and Phil's positivity, 2 different things. But I can support him in a different way than, you know, Xander can support him. And I think that that's what makes us all able to work together. Personally.
What do you mean?
Like, we all have different mindsets. We all have different ways of looking at a certain situation. And I think with all, like, the little chefs in the pot, I think because there's so many different dynamics that it actually works. We're not all the same.
Okay, so is there a metaphor or a short story that you can share that helps that land?
I mean, sure, probably. This was like the worst, probably one of the first times I met you, I would say. The only hard time that I ever had working with my brothers, middle brothers specifically. It was a hard time. I was on my way of taking over social media, and he still had his hands on it. And so there was 2 sets of hands on socials, and we both wanted to do different things.
Right.
But that turned into a bigger fight because I was holding resentment for other situations, and I brought that resentment into the fight, which didn't help at all. But you know, because Phil is the way that he is and he's level-headed, more level-headed than my other brother and I, he was able to kind of sit us down and talk us through it. And because we all have different ways of how we want to do everything. The way Phil wants to post and the way I want to post and the way Xander wants to post are all 3 different things. I'm like, let's post the you know, probably like 20-second reels really fast, like fast-paced music. Doesn't show you much, like you have to keep rewatching it. That's how you get views. But because Phil's so different, he's like, no, I want like a minute, nice and slow music, like a drum bass in the back. I'm like, yeah, like that's boring. And then Xander's the middle. He's like, well, why don't you do this and this and then see how that works? But I think that's what I mean by we're all so different that it actually works.
All right.
Yeah.
So pump the brakes here, because this is, and some of this I'm familiar with and some of it I'm not. So Thank you. Well, let's pump the brakes here for the audience out there. It's like, all right, so now you've got 3 different philosophies and ideologies. Mm-hmm. Not one is right, not one is wrong. They're very different. Mm-hmm. And you've got 3, I'm going to use this purposely, egos in this space. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's different blinders and roadblocks and transferences and presuppositions that we carry into the conversations. And now you've got sort of the family tie, which subconsciously always has sort of some sort of a hierarchy or tier system, or, you know, there's always one that wants to scream a little bit louder to get their voice heard or not, or whatever. I mean, I'm not paraphrasing. I'm talking about the real shit that everybody knows about. So how do you deal with this, right? Is there sort of like a conflict? There's nothing, I'm sure there's nothing written like, here's how we deal with conflict. Maybe there is, but, you know, it's cool. You've described it scenario. So what? Now what happens next?
So in the 4-5 years that we've all been working together, that was the only fight that we've had, which is amazing because very rare.
I think we need to pivot to that after we finish this thought.
Very rare. So that's the only way I know that how we would combat it is that having that conversation. Like,
so Phil's a pragmatic guy. He says, shut the hell up. Fuck you guys all. Let's go sit down and talk about this.
Absolutely.
But who takes the lead? He takes the lead.
He took the lead. He was a very good mediator, which both me and my other brother like have never seen that side of Phil before, where he mediated and was like, okay, like let's understand everybody before we can move on to the solution.
Well, I mean, that's growth for Phil too, because Phil's also very much in the spotlight himself, saying this is how it's going to be.
Yeah. So when everything was happening, Phil was like, "Hey, we're going out for dinner, 7:00, the keg. Like, we'll be there. We'll talk everything out." And that was literally how we solved the solution, and we haven't had any problems since, which is really lovely. So,
well, this is interesting because I do remember this situation. So thank you for including me into it. And you know, I think what's important I want to bring something unique into this conversation is that there was anger and resentment present.
Yes, a lot.
right?
Yeah.
And beneath that anger, we know is sadness. Like that's really what it is. And I always ask this question. I even ask this question to myself, like, what am I really angry about? And sometimes like I'll sit there and go, I just want to fucking be right.
Yeah.
So what? Like,
right.
what if I'm right? Cool. Is it going to matter in 5 years from now?
That's not.
What if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Right. But beneath that is like, what am I really sad about? And and I don't know what that scenario was, but it's like, well, actually I do know what that scenario is about, but it's like, what am I really sad about? I'm sad that I don't have the connection that I once had or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right?
And being able to, cause I'm not a big communicator of my own feelings. Like I like when everybody else talks about theirs, because I like to listen and I like to help. But I don't want any help.
I know that. And I'm glad you said that, because you didn't say it earlier and it finally came out.
Because I deal with my own the way I deal with my own. So when we were going through all of this, like I knew that, the underlying issue was what it was.
Sure.
Was I going to bring it up? No. Did it come up? Yes.
Yeah.
Because he knew, and he's not dumb. My middle brother is my best friend. We've been close forever. There's a 4-year age gap, so it's a lot easier for us to be buddy-buddy, other than like me and Phil, we have a 9-year age gap, so it's harder, right? Mind you, I am closer with Phil now that we work together. But it was hard for me to communicate my feelings to this person who was my best friend, because I was like, I don't want to hurt him.
Of course.
But I'm hurting myself in the process, which sucked.
So have you ever had a moment in time where you're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this shit anymore with my family, I'm out?
Oh, never. No, even when like that was happening, I was like, okay, let's move past it and, build a bridge and get over it. I love working with my brothers. It gives me the opportunity to actually like see them outside of the house, because we don't live together anymore.
Love that.
Yeah. And a big thing for me, becoming an adult and adulting was like leaving my parents' house and leaving that bond I had with my brothers. Like I spent probably like 8 hours a day with Xander every day. Just me and him. Like I would just hang out in his room. If I was working and he was home, I'd be in his room. We would play games in his room. Like I was always with him. So that transition to adulthood, but leaving all of that behind, was really hard.
Sure.
And I hated it. So working with them allows me to have that still. Mind you, we're not in office as much anymore, but I still get to talk to them every day. I still get to see them like twice a week at work or whatever it is. And
so you're actually connected.
Yeah.
Which is so
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah. It helps us keep that bond. And I think that that's really important, because not a lot of people who work with their families believe in that or even have that.
This is why it's so important to talk about, right? Because, most people who, more times than not, the folks that work within the family, it might seem like a good idea at the beginning, yet there's a lot of conflict and undealt with stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Undealt with negative energies, right? And I'm here looking across the table talking to you because of your positive energy, your courage, your bravery to continually to work with your family. And it was like, would you ever not do this? And the answer was no. Yeah. It was an instantaneous no.
Yeah. I love working with them. It's my favorite part of life.
And then you said something super miraculous. It was really cool before you said, it's been a long time since we've had a disagreement. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain that? Like, where's the boundaries and expectations that are consciously or subconsciously set?
I think it's the open conversations that we have. Like we've gotten to a point where we can all like sit down together and say like, I don't like this. Like, what are your thoughts? You don't like that? Cool. Like, let's do it let's do it this way. Or I don't like when you said this or whatever. But I think
Hang on. Pump the brakes, because that's pretty cool. So is that, I'll use Phil. Okay. If Phil says something, right, is that right away you're like, no, I don't like that? Or you'll walk away. There's an understanding that you're going to take that, bubble it, you can use your term, bubble it for a bit, come back and say, you know what, I'm not cool with what you said.
Mm-hmm. So the process, usually it's like that. The process, 100% of the time is, let's say I have a conversation with Phil and he's like, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, cool. I go home, I call Xander. Okay, Phil wants to do X, Y, Z. And this is how I feel about it. Well, why didn't you tell him? I don't know. So then we usually have a meeting every other Wednesday for media. And that's when we'll sit down and Xander becomes the mediator and was like, okay, well, Nessa said this. So how do you feel about it? Because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Even though I wouldn't. I know that I wouldn't. It's just like in my head, I'm like, I don't want to tell him that because he really wants to do it. I don't want to break his heart. I don't want to push him down or whatever. So Xander will be the one at that point to be like, okay, so this is what Nessa told me what you said, and this is what she said. And then Phil will like look at me and I'll be like, okay, so what do you want to do about it? But it's very much so nothing comes from anger. It's just like Xander's the person who I bounce my stuff off of and vice versa. So when I want to know, like if I'm the crazy one, I'm calling him. I'm like, Phil wants to do this. Is that crazy? Because like this is what I'm thinking. And then he'll be like, well, yeah, he's a middle child, right? So like he's in the middle. So it's always going to be in the middle.
But this is great. Like you're surrounding yourself with great people, right? You're constantly using each other as a sounding board to springboard things off of each other.
Always.
Right? And you said something super miraculous there. Like it's not, I think you said it was not coming from anger.
Yeah, it's never from anger.
Never from anger, right? So it's never like I'm resentfully holding this against you. Yeah. So if it's not coming from anger, it's coming from
a place of love.
Love.
It's just
I just need you to say it. Because that's what it is. It's like I love you, and I don't think that this idea best serves us well now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, me being in social media, Phil is not. Phil is, you know, construction.
Yep.
So he's coming with this idea. I'm like, Phil, like that's not gonna do anything on social media. That makes no sense. No sense. So bringing it to Xander helps me because he's not too involved with socials, but he's involved enough to know when something would work and when something doesn't work.
Well, and you've come to understand how to lean into each other's strengths.
Yeah, of course.
Right? You've said it very before. You know, he's a very like systematic, creative guy.
Yeah.
So he's going to process it, and we know from what I've learned about Phil and what you've shared, Phil's pragmatic. Problem. What's Phil do? Solution.
Yeah.
Here's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're leaning into each other and saying, this is it. Right? But there's not a space of even when there was conflict you described, again, you just described it. Phil was like, here's how we're solving it.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen.
Like, you know, you don't need to get into details or unpack that. But was it uncomfortable? Fucking sure it was.
Absolutely.
Right?
I hated every second of it.
Of course you did. I mean, I actually remember that day. And like, you know, I happened to be in that space with you. And it was tough. And I can imagine what that conversation was like. It was tough. Except that after that struggle is where the growth emerged.
Right. And exactly. And now, you know, all three of our relationships together are all so strong. Because I think that helped us know that we can all talk to each other about what we're feeling when we're feeling.
But this is cool, right? Because you know now you've got multiple families involved. Because everybody's got sort of their own family and their own sort of ways and everything that's sort of occurring.
Yeah.
And now you've got a bond of families, but you've also got a community of folks. I mean, I tell you what community I'm. You know, I'm happy to be part of that community in the ways that I'm part of that community through you and everybody else in there.
Yeah.
Right? Why? It's because you're connected, because you still have, you know, bonds. That's just, it's super cool because I've lived on the opposite side of things where egos, money, success, you name every empty, meaningless thing in this planet actually drives families apart.
Right. And I think the reason that we all three of us, I mean, my parents have worked with us too, but they're obviously not as like involved anymore as us three are. But I think the reason that we all work together is because we're so different. Like we're not all driven by success. You know, like we have Phil who's driven by success and he wants his business. He's going to build his business. Then there's me who's just like, I'm just here. Like I'll help you do whatever you want. And that's it. Like I'm going to help you build this dream, but that's not the dream that I want for me. We know the dream that I want, right? So I think that that's why it works. I think if all three of us were trying to build three very large empires and do all these very large things, I think that we would have a way bigger issue. And I think we would end up like butting heads a lot more. But
like, this is where you're whole and complete, and this is what I love, right? Because this isn't all smoke and mirrors, folks. This is real. That's why we're having this conversation. And yet it's not like it's Vanessa's world is rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It's not. In fact,
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. And any other day, you and I had this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, a pivot is the color of your hair, which is always amazing, right?
Yeah.
Today it's
brown.
It's brown,
Unfortunately,
right? And that's not characteristic. But one thing that I want to come back to, because I think this speaks to who you are as a human being, and how it ties into the dynamics professionally and personally, is even though you've described your relationship with your boyfriend, future husband out there, Greg,
hopefully.
right?
Well.
When you talk about your household, and it's like, I think you had said it to me one day, and I'm going to butcher it inappropriately, so please correct it. But no arguing, or this is a place of like no conflict zone, or
I think I said no fighting zone.
No fighting
probably.
zone, right?
Yeah.
And you've been very, very secured and strong on that case, where it's like, inside this space,
no yelling.
There's no yelling.
No fighting. Conversations only.
And again, that speaks to who you are, and that very, very much amplifies what it's like to work within the family dynamics, right? So I'm super curious, because this is something that you've brought me into your world on, and we talk about this is pivoting both the creativity side and the connection with family, which is very, in my world, very unique and exciting and unorthodox, and that is your love and passion for board games.
Love them.
And you've talked about, even at family gatherings where traditionally, and I come from the European background, where we'll have an over exuberant meal and we'll sit there and we'll chat, or not really chat, or just be sort of in that food coma. And, you've identified something different where you play board games.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've shared some. I mean, our family, the four of us, have really embraced Taco Cat,
Goat
Cow,
cheese pizza.
Goat Cheese Pizza, whatever. It was the funniest thing to play, folks. I'll say it again. What is it, Vanessa?
Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
Amazon, folks. It's really fun. It's really exciting. Again, myself, my wife, Cassandra's 8, Christian's 10. Epic, loud.
It's really fun.
Crazy. when you unpack the psychology behind it, it's even more exciting. So you introduced us to that, a couple of other ones. Except that I want to bring this back full circle. How have board games been pivotal, instrumental in your life?
So I only started playing them in my current relationship now. So my family, we were never big board game people up until I obviously moved out and wanted to have that dynamic in my own family. So I think the biggest part for me in board games is that it started because I was scared. We were going camping for the first time.
As a family?
No, me and my boyfriend.
Okay.
Going camping for the first time. I think we had the dog, but he was a puppy. And I remember telling my friend, I'm like, what the hell are we going to talk about at camping? We're going to be together 3 days on a campsite. What are we going to talk about? This was probably a year into our relationship. I think we were going for an anniversary or something. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? I was panicking.
Sure.
I'm like, I should just get board games. Maybe we'll get a board game. And then that way, if it gets awkward, because, I've never known, I don't know why. I thought it was going to be this horrible, awkward, silence. Because that's what I pictured camping as, especially when it's just two of you going. So that's when I leaned into board games. And I bought Blockus and I bought Sequence, I think, for our first camp trip. And I think we played those two games back to back for the whole all of Saturday, I think it was, because Friday you get there, unpack, and then whatever it was, but it's just made it makes me feel so homey, board games, playing games together, especially if it's just me and him, knowing on a Friday night, instead of going downtown and doing whatever, he's okay to pull out Blockus and play for an hour or 2 hours. It's great. It makes me feel like home, I guess, if that makes comfort.
Sure. And then and then you brought this forward to the rest of your family.
Yes.
With your parents and your brothers. So how does that go? How does that come to be?
So I forcefully, started making them play the games that I wanted to play. I think it started with Telestrations After Dark. I think that's the one with like the broken telephone. You have to draw things.
Okay.
And they all really like that, but it's because.
So this is after, let's get together for a family gathering.
Yeah, like Thanksgiving dinner. Like, desserts are probably out maybe before desserts. I'm like, okay, time to play. Like, let's do it. And like, they're always like, man, like,
of course they are. Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, this is so fun. Everyone has fun when we do it. So let's just do it. Like, we don't have to play, 10 rounds. Like, do it once. If you want to play another one, we'll do another one. And it's just given us a way of, like, I guess, connecting on another level, because after dinner, we usually separate.
Of course.
And, like, that's it. Phil goes upstairs to watch TV. I'll sit at the table with Greg. And then, everyone else is kind of just sitting there cleaning up or doing whatever.
So you introduced board games. How has that shifted the family dynamics?
I think everyone loves playing board games now. Xander was a big board game person as well, but it was more so with his friends. So I think now I kind of brought it to my parents, and my mom will go out of her way to be like, okay, like, I saw this board game, like, I want to get it. Like, what do you think? Like, great idea. Like, I bring Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. I think I brought it to Christmas maybe it was. And we were all playing, like, on the island. And my mom was just pissing her pants laughing because it's hilarious.
It is hilarious, that game. But this is what's, and I think maybe you and I were having this conversation yesterday or even today. I'm not even sure when we were talking about laughter. Like, one thing that sort of depletes as we go through the trials, tribulations, and growth of life is laughter.
Yeah.
As a child, one thing we're doing is we're laughing hysterically all the time, and we're releasing those endorphins. We're giving our bodies, laughter gives your body an internal workout. It gives all your organs. It really does. Right? It gives your body an internal workout. And, in the presence of laughter is the absence of that fear and regret and, the future and the past, right? You're actually in the present moment.
Which is really nice.
And that sort of depletes as we age. We don't laugh as much. And yet you talk about board games and look at the laughter that it charges.
Oh, it especially Telestrations After Dark. Like, you are sitting there, like, crying of laughter, especially my mom, sitting there crying of laughter at it because it's so funny. And there's nothing better than that. Like, that's best. Like, you don't want to play Monopoly when everyone's, like, screaming at each other. Like, that's
Monopoly's a very structured, systematic, pragmatic,
very, very Xander,
and business oriented, right?
Yeah,
so what shifted for you in the dynamics of your family since the introduction of board games?
I think it just, like, it allows us to have that extra hour together. That's not about anything other than just having fun.
Oh, and we're not having a purposeful driven conversation.
Yeah. We're not, like, forcefully talking because you're all sitting down eating. Like, you have to be like, okay, so what's new? Like,
Yeah.
It's just so much more organic, and just, like, everyone is just present, and they have to be present, but in a natural, soft way.
I love this. Thank you. I'm smiling because, my mother's going to listen to this podcast or not, but sometimes she listens to them and she hears this when she'll light up because this is sort of her thing. And, I have a cousin, Julia, that we've always talked about stuff like this. This is, like board games. Mm-hmm. And it didn't, look at that. Look at how it just clicks. It's like, because after a meal, what are you kind of doing? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go watch TV until it's time to go.
Exactly.
Until it's time to go. Or
just connect on a fun level,
and you're truly in the present moment, because what happens there, like, you're enamored with the game, like something. Okay, this game sucks, okay, play a different game. But once you find a good game,
you're always gonna play it.
And guess what, the competition levels, nobody, no human being likes to lose, so they're gonna play. They're gonna play to the best of their ability. You're going to laugh, right? And look at the memories you create. And now it's like you're organically and subconsciously connecting with your brothers, and the little ones that are around are seeing this, and as they age and they grow through this, they're going to see board games.
They're going to love it, and then that's it. And then that's going to be everything that I've ever wanted, because I've always wanted to be a board game family, because I grew up with people whose families were board game families. I was like, oh, like, my brothers don't want to do that.
And thank you, because this is like, for me, this ties everything back together, right? We've started the conversation to who you are and the positivity you bring forth, and sort of who you are as a human being, and how you've been so vulnerable and transparent about how you sort of tie in your family dynamics, your outlooks, where your blind spots are, how you choose to consciously work with your brothers. That it's never easy.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to do it.
And yet there's been never a moment where like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. So I guess finish these sentences, because my heart feels like in a good spot. It's just, the best thing about working with your family is
being with them.
Beautiful.
Simple.
And if you could change one thing, wave that wand and change one thing about working with your family, what would you change?
I don't think that I would change anything. I don't think I would, because it's perfect the way that it is. I think it works perfectly well. It's a well-engined oil. Well, that's backwards. Well-oiled engine.
Well-oiled machine.
That's it.
But and love that, right?
Yeah.
And
Nothing to change.
I got that. I truly got that. With confidence and courage and bravery, you say that, and you unpack what that looks like when you've encountered conflicts and how you co-create new realities and how you choose to deal with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I want to come back to one thing that you mentioned, and I sort of smiled, maybe externally, but also internally, when you talk about everybody's ideologies and philosophies are slightly different as far as success, right? And, one might be driven by financial success and growth and whatever it looks like business-wise, another driven by family success or something else. Everybody's got their own definition, philosophies, and ideologies of success. And until you actually unpack that, folks, and know what, ask yourself what success is and what success is at this present moment, there's another cool exercise we can get to. But I want to come back to you because you've been very vivid. I'm not an animal person, you know that. And I share this with our family, and I know that you very much are an animal person.
Big animal person.
Right?
Yep.
So you have this dream one day of, owning you call it a hobby farm.
Just a farm.
It's more than a hobby farm, but tell us about what this vision is.
I think what it is, at least, is I want to be able to give animals homes that specifically animals that, aren't getting the love that they deserve. Because I think all animals are so helpless. Obviously, they can't speak. They can't tell us how they feel. And I guess I relate to that because I also don't do that. I don't tell people how I feel. So it's nice when someone takes me under their wing and they're like, okay, I know you're sad. Let's go talk about it. So my dream is just to be able to just have, it doesn't have to be a big piece of land, just land where I could just have all the animals that I want that just need homes, whether it's a pig that's going to get turned into bacon, or a farm, or a horse that doesn't like the farm that's on, or is just getting mistreated, or all the dogs in the world, because I would have all the dogs in the world. So I just want to give them homes. I just want to give them a place where they know that they'll be taken care of, they'll be loved, they'll be treated with all the care in the world.
So
that's it.
What are these animals in your mind? What animals are there? You mentioned dogs.
Oh God, everything. For sure, a cow. 100%.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what cow. It could be a brown cow. It could be a milk cow. It could be a mini cow.
How about a pink cow so you can produce pink milk?
There you go. Cows, pigs, goats, llamas, alpacas, anything and everything. Chickens, definitely. Silkies, hands down. Silkies for sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's not get into silkies. Beautiful
just
bird,
everything. Everything.
Yeah, so listen, folks, that there ain't nothing about hobby farm there.
It's just like my family. I would want them to be all furry and animals. And Greg.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, Greg, you are one patient human being.
Poor guy.
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And thanks for that vision. This is it. You light up when you talk about that. I can't wait to share that vision with you. I can't wait to stand on that property one day with you and go, you're freaking crazy. And yet you put this into orbit. Mm-hmm. You threw this out to the universe and you knew what you wanted, and here it is.
And that's my success. That's the success that I want for myself, is to be able to have all of that. And that's all I've ever wanted. So that's it.
Wow.
Wow.
You're such a wonderful human being, and you're full of love, and you're full of compassion, full of joy. And here's what shows up for me. Other than the words "I love you," what 3 words bring you joy?
This is where I was going with this. Hi, I'm Harry. That's it. Like Harry Styles.
I got that. I'm completely confused.
Yeah, that's his like his phrase. Whenever he starts a video, it's "Hi, I'm Harry." And that makes me happy. Hearing that.
Does he start every video like that?
Most of them, yeah. Or it'll be like, "Hello, everybody, I'm Harry." That's too many words. So 3 words. Hi, I'm Harry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love them. I love hearing it.
No kidding. Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Have you met him yet?
No,
I can't wait till the day you do.
I don't know if I would actually, like, if I saw him, I don't know if I would actually speak to him, because I would want to respect like him, because he's very much so like a people person. Like, he loves taking pictures with the fans and all that stuff. So, but I think that I'd be like, no, I want him to enjoy his day. Like, I'm not going to bother him. But I'll take a picture of him from afar.
You're so, I don't know if enamored's the word, but so intrigued. Like, he's just such a big part of your life, directly and indirectly, right?
Yes. And for a very long time, like 2010, since 2010, I've been in love with him.
Wow.
Loved him, supported him.
Yeah.
Long time.
That's just huge. I mean, thank you for all this. A couple of more fun questions, I suppose, or reflective questions.
Yeah.
Who you are today, Venessa Russo, just turned 27 years old, accomplished so many things in life, a visionary, a creative artist. It's an honor to share space with you, and the introspective look, knowing who you are today. What do you think your future self remembers about who you are today?
Probably how happy I am with everything. Just myself personally, myself in my relationships, myself with my family. That was something that I never had for a long time, being happy. So I would say that, because this is the epitome of who I am as a person. I think I can only get better. And it took me a long time to get here, which is great. But I've never loved being happy until this stage of my life, which is cool.
How do you define happy? Like, how do you know you're happy?
I mean, just like waking up with the amount of energy that I have. I think that kind of shows, mind you, there's obviously stuff that I can struggle with and all that, but just knowing that, I have someone to come home to that absolutely loves me. I have a dog to come home to that absolutely loves me. I have a cat that kind of likes me, So it's just...
He's got no hair.
Yeah.
She got no hair, and her name is Kiwi. I mean, like, come on. She's like, you give him... Yeah. And she's a cat. More cats are not the friendliest.
But yeah, just being in, like, the position that I am in all my relationships, I think that's what makes me happy. And that's what I want to remember. Because it's not always sunshine and rainbows, for the most part.
No, life is not. But it's just it's humbling to sit across from you and get that. And I hope that there's folks out there who realize that you don't need to have this unquenchable thirst for something more, right?
It's simplicity.
Simplicity. How do you get there? Like, is there 1 person, 2 person, 10 people that sort of are a guiding compass for you, somebody you look up to or have looked up to along the way?
I mean, like, getting to the point of where I am right now, the people that have guided me have definitely been, my brothers, and meeting my boyfriend. Like, that was such a crazy moment in my life for me, meeting him, because he has the same outlook on life as me, where it's all like, who cares? Why are you letting it upset you? And that's really nice to have. And I think that because meeting him, and he kind of rubbed off on me more so, where it was like, but who cares? Like, you're going to do what you want to do. And if that's what makes you happy, that's what's going to make you happy, and vice versa. So he really helped me kind of grow into this person that I am today, because we've been together for 4 years now. And 4 years ago, I could tell you that I wasn't who I was today. I was horrid. I hated myself. But then, like, 8 years ago from today, I was also the worst person I've ever was. But I was young, I was dumb, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't care who I was hurting. I didn't have any remorse. But, meeting people like my boyfriend changes the outlook on life. So that's cool.
Was there a pivotal moment, like there's a tipping point that you remember you meeting Greg and like, holy shit?
Yes. Yes and no. Like, he's 8 years older than I am. So at the point where we met, he obviously is so much older than me, but not so much older. He is older than me. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. He's older than me, so he has what we like to call more life experience.
Okay.
So he's gone through everything that I have yet to go through at that point. So it was really cool kind of, going through some few situations with my friends, and he's like, well, this is what I did. Like, or why don't you do it this way? Or stuff like that. And so he became my outlet of, like, that person to look up to, because he obviously is older than me, but he went through all of it already, and he experienced those hardships where I haven't. So he kind of knew how to help me through them, which was really cool.
And the way you describe it, it doesn't sound like it was forceful. It was like, listen, this served me well. Maybe it serves you well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really, it was so nice to have, because I think at the point where we met, I was a lot more mature than people my age.
Okay.
And I've always known that, especially in the way that I think and all that stuff. So it was hard to be in a relationship with someone my age at that point, because the men that are my age weren't there yet, weren't where Greg was at when I met him. Because they were young. They still wanted to party. They wanted to live their lives and all that stuff, where Greg was done with that. He was like, okay, now I'm ready to settle down. And I'm like, okay, so am I. So tell me about yourself. Like, what's up? So it was cool to have someone with, like, the same mindset.
Beautiful. Well, yeah. Greg, thank you for helping to form
Thanks, Greg.
Venessa for who she is today. We've shared many great conversations, many more to come. Even today's table discussion has been phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. Calm and positive and energetic and real, right? And there's no forced agenda here. It's talking about who you are as a human being, and that there's lots of people out there who, if one thing resonated, then job well done.
Absolutely. If
one thing landed to say, holy shit, I never thought of that. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, look, one thing that resonated with me was board games, and I immediately I shared that with you, and I've shared so many different stories. I've even with you and Angelina ahead of time, coming here today into this space. So thank you for showing up with the energy, the positivity, the courage, the bravery, and thanks for this is how I see it, so I'm going to say it the way I see it. Thanks for being the nucleus of your family.
You're welcome.
To keep everybody together, because that's, again, our orbits intersected as a result of that. So
it's true.
You are such a wonderful human being, and the impact you have on others is miraculous. And you're an animal person, and I'm not. I'm a children person, which you know. So this is going to be a very leading question, children orientated, because you are a wealth of knowledge and you can share so much with the world. Mm-hmm. And if you could teach children of our world today one thing, what do you want to leave with the children?
Probably to, like, be in the moment. I feel like a lot of the younger kids, and I'm guilty of it, are in their phones, because they're getting phones at a younger age, and they're not living in the present. And I regret that for myself a lot, because I was always like, oh my God, I got to take my phone out, I got to record it. Like the Harry Styles concert I went to, I did not put my phone down once. I brought a battery pack so that I could charge my phone to record the whole concert so that I could watch it later. But at the same time, I didn't get to be present that much, I should say. There was a few songs I didn't record, but to be present, to teach them how to be present, to not lean into your phone, to have all the videos that you want to have, or recording those, whatever you're recording. You're walking down the street, like be in the moment walking down the street. So much fun stuff can happen when you're walking to the convenience store to get an ice cream. Because that was something that I lacked, and I hated it. I hate it now. I liked it back then, I should say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like that, I couldn't have, inside I got firecrackers going off inside of me because like that's the exact stuff that I believe in. And I didn't even know that you were going to come up with that answer because I have this conversation all the time. I mean, it's about being in that present moment, but you described it with the metaphor of being at the concert. Hey, I'm going to capture this and watch it later. And whether you did or didn't, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that, did you not miss that moment?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like there was, you know what? There was a moment in between recording that I missed, and I was so upset that I missed it because now I relive it through somebody else's video. But I sit there and I'm like, I can't believe, because I was like shuffling on my phone, trying to do something to get it to record again. I missed that one. He was singing something. I don't remember what he was singing, but I was so sad. I was like, I didn't get it on video, and I missed watching it with my eyes. I'm like, next time I go to his concert, I'm not recording a single thing, or I'm going to tape a GoPro to my forehead so that I don't have to record it myself.
Well, and again, so there's I love this, right? And even the creative part of your brain says, well, how can I achieve both?
Yeah.
Right?
I want both.
I'm gonna tape a GoPro to my head so I don't have to be, and yet I'm still gonna capture the experience through my own two eyes that I'm fortunate to have, again, because you have a positive outlook on life. You're like, hey, I have two, great eyes that are working perfectly today. Let's capture this. Remember it up here as well. But I envision this fucking GoPro to your head. Like you're
absolutely something I would do. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So thank you for this. Thank you for allowing me several hours of your day today. You've made extreme impact on my life. You took time to drive to studio to have this conversation with us, and you've impacted me in so many different ways. And I know you've left a message with some folks out there. It's never been about you, and you've always demonstrated that. And yet there are still some folks out there who are probably screaming, holy shit, now I have a warm introduction to Venessa. How do they get in touch with you?
Instagram. I'm always on Instagram at the vsocial_, I think it is. Should be a message, and that's what it is. I'm always on my phone, so I'll always answer. Yeah.
Venessa Russo, folks, amazing human being. Thank you for sharing space.
No,
I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Angelina.